When it comes to the supernatural, the first things that come to mind are ghosts, demons, werewolves, and most commonly, vampires. While most of the vampires we encounter lurk within the pages of a good story, there are some vampires who end up stealing the hearts of young female readers. Because of this, it is easy to see in forms of literature, film, and even graphic novels that most of the time the reader or viewer encounters a male vampire. Sure, there are female vampires, but male vampires are seen more commonly than female, especially in pop culture, where vampires appear not only in film and literature, but TV as well. It's easy to get overwhelmed with all of the heartthrob bloodsuckers, especially with all of the different representations of vampires in the modern world. Such examples are the Twilight Saga, the HBO series True Blood, the Vampire Diaries, and so much more. However, in the form of movies, Edward Cullen and Anne Rice's popular character in her own vampire series, The Vampire Lestat. And we cannot forget the king of the vampire film and literature, Dracula.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am Count Vladislaus Dracula.
With many different representations and interpretations, this character has been reimagined and played by many actors, such as the iconic Bela Lugosi in Universal's 1931 film, Dracula.
A moment ago, I stumbled upon a most amazing phenomenon. Something so incredible, I mistrust my own judgment. Look.
There's also Christopher Lee, who starred in the most films reprising the role of Dracula. In the 1992 film Bram Stoker's Dracula, we have Gary Oldman, who plays the eerie Count Dracula, the even younger form of the Count who transforms upon his trip to England. The newest adaptation of the historical Vlad the Impaler with the movie Dracula Untold, with Luke Evans playing the role of Vlad Tepes, also known as Dracula.
Never forget who I am.
As stated, male vampires are more commonly seen. While we do see different female vampire roles in film and literature, there are two fictional ladies who brought out the mystery and dangers of the female vampire. There is the character Carmilla in the short story of the same name by Sheridan Le Fanu, and then there's the character Geraldine in Samuel Taylor Coleridge's poem Christabel. While the reader is not told outright that Geraldine is a vampire, there are subtle hints within the narrative poem and in Geraldine's behavior that give her away. Yet, there are some clues linking to the supernatural that require some research. For starters, when Christabel encounters the Lady Geraldine, it is under an oak tree, around the middle of the night. An oak tree is regarded as a sacred tree, yet this tree could also be linked with other sorts of supernatural entities as well. Regardless of the tree, the setting of the poem is the key factor. An age-old myth about vampires is that they do not go out in the daylight. The second factor is what Geraldine is wearing: white. While black is the color of mourning, the color white in other cultures such as Japan, China, and many others associate the color with death or even the supernatural. Another age-old myth about vampires is that they cannot swim or cross running water, this being that water acts as a purifier.
I understand you have a weakness for silver.
Though many vampire fans know that silver can deter a vampire, it is not the only metal that can do so. Iron is also another metal that can keep the undead at bay. This is seen after Christabel and Geraldine pass the moat and walk up to a set of iron gates, which Christabel then must aid Geraldine to cross over them, because Geraldine sinks back in a terrible pain. This being that iron was used as charms to protect people from not only vampires but other malevolent supernatural beings as well. One of the most interesting connections with the supernatural is the use of prayer. Lines 139 through 142. Praise we the Virgin all divine, who hath rescued thee from thy distress. Alas, alas, said Geraldine, I cannot speak for weariness. It is believed that prayer or holy objects have the ability to weaken vampires or even hold them at bay.
More wolfbane. More effective than wolfbane, Count. Indeed.
It is also believed that vampires or supernatural beings are not even able to utter any types of prayer. Next is the Mastiff, the family dog that does not wake up to see Geraldine, but instead growls out when her guests pass through. This links into the belief that animals are able to sense the supernatural, especially dogs who could detect the undead and possibly attack them. Near the end of the narrative poem, it is possible to believe that Geraldine's enchanting of Christabel's father could be via hypnosis. It cannot be figured out with the poem being unfinished. Yet even though Christabel was incomplete upon its publishing, you cannot deny that even though Coleridge may not have truly been thinking of vampires upon writing this poem, in the end, he certainly gave the female vampires their wings. Way before Dracula became king of the vampires.
I am Dracula.